Have you ever wondered how what the advisor thinks is the risk you can take on and what you think is the risk you can take on could be totally two different things, even though you've had the same conversation? Have you ever wondered how much risk you should be taking on, how much you could be or can? Have you ever wondered why sometimes buy and hold strategy does not work? Well, in this session, in this show today, we're going to be talking about those things, so stay tuned.
Retiring Well, brought to you by Centennial Wealth Advisory, financial advisors specializing in retirement planning and serving all of northern Michigan. Retiring Well, helping you plan for a successful and comfortable retirement. Retiring Well, plan to retire well.
We're talking about the big disconnect between you and the financial planning industry, particularly when you're talking about risk, right? So when you talk about risk, and there's a lot of reasons for that, but let's imagine, to really help you better understand what's going on, let's imagine that you could be a fly on the wall in a financial advisory office. I know, it's very exciting, right? And you could be a fly on the wall and you get to sit there and watch 10 people, 10 families come in for the first time to that advisor's office. So here you are on the wall, you're watching what's happening, right? And then what does every financial advisor do at the beginning? You know, when they meet a new family, it seems like they're always trying to identify what is your risk tolerance. How, are you a conservative investor? Are you moderate? Are you aggressive? What are you? And let's, for the sake of today's discussion, say that as you're that fly on the wall, every one of the 10 families that come in, they all say the same thing. We're moderate. That's what we are. We're moderate. We are moderate investors. We're middle of the road. We're not real aggressive, but we're not super conservative either. We're kind of middle of the road. On a scale of 1 to 10, with 10 being aggressive and 1 being conservative, we're like maybe a 4, 5, or a 6, something like that. Okay, that's exciting. All 10 are moderate. Now, what's going on each side of the table there? So this may come as a surprise to you, but the minute a financial advisor hears that you're moderate, here's what they're thinking. Because this is what the financial industry thinks. The financial industry believes that if you are a middle-of-the-road, moderate investor, then you, in a down market, are completely comfortable losing about a third of your money. 30, 35%. If the market's bad market like 08 or the early 2000s, they're saying, you know what, losing 30, 35%, that's right in your wheelhouse. You're absolutely fine with that. That's what the financial industry believes. But you're that fly in the wall, right? You're up there on the wall, and you're seeing all 10 of these families come in. They're all saying they're moderate. What do you think? Do you think that all 10 of those families would define moderate as happily losing 30, 35% when the market's down? Do you think they're all good with that? You see, I found that just asking someone if they're conservative, moderate, or aggressive, that's not communication. Because what if you were moderate? Your definition of moderate may not be the same as mine. It may not, and mine may not be the same as the financial industries. And I promise you this, if 10 people come in the door and they're all moderate, 10 families, all moderate, they don't have the same definition. I can promise you that. Everybody has their own idea of what moderate means. So I always like to ask a follow-up question. I say, oh, wait a minute here, wait a minute. You said you're moderate. Okay, well, what does that really mean to you? What is moderate? Let me make sure I understand you. When you say moderate, you're 4, 5, or 6, what does that really mean to you? And guess what? I'm going to get 10 different definitions, aren't I? That's what I'm going to get, 10 different definitions. I'm going to get one person says, well, I'm moderate because I like to be in the stock market, but I don't want to lose more than 10%. If it's down, I want to be out. And another person might say, yeah, I'm kind of moderate investor. That means I'm willing to lose half my money in a single year, because they think aggressive means to lose it all. I mean, everybody has their own definition. And this is where the big disconnect comes in. Because, you have your definition, the advisor has their definition, and then the industry has their definition. Everybody has different definitions. And unless that advisor is really digging deeper and asking you, wait a minute, what do you really mean by that? Well, unless they're doing that, you'll often find that the difference in definitions get you in trouble when markets go south. Make sure that you guys are clear in understanding there.
Yeah, guys, that was really interesting to hear that, because it's so often when we're sitting down with folks and we feel like there's that disconnect where the individual or couple we're talking to may say one thing about, hey, their tolerance for risk, but so often the advisor may be looking at it from a completely different perspective. So that's where it's important to have everyone on the same page.
Yeah, how about just this question? How much are you willing to lose in a given year? Sure. How come that's not on a risk profile question?
Right.
Anyway, we're glad you're joining us today. And I'm going to make some fun about this, but it's always us guys, us advisors, and we've been on TV for quite some time, and we'll get posed this question a lot. Do you have women in your organization? And so we thought it very appropriate that finally we might have somebody who works for Centennial Wealth join us in the TV show. So Dawn, can you tell the audience a little about yourself?
Yeah. Well, my name is Dawn McConnell, and I'm originally from Port Huron. Was born and raised in Port Huron, over in the thumb of Michigan. Went to school at Ferris State University, and moved here to Traverse City about 25 years ago. So, but just about three and a half years ago, I started working for Centennial Wealth Advisory. Up until just recently, I've primarily been on the operations end of Centennial Wealth Advisory, preparing paperwork, a lot of different services that the clients call us about. I'm the one who takes care of that. But just recently, I've gotten into the health insurance and Medicare supplements.
Yeah, and Dawn, we've known each other for 10, 12 years now and everything. And I know before you were working at Munson here in town at the hospital. So share a little bit about that and how that transitioned into what you're doing now.
Sure, yeah. I went to school, like I said, to Ferris State University, graduated with a degree in respiratory therapy. So worked at Munson Medical Center for about 12, 15 years as a registered respiratory therapist. And so now being at Centennial Wealth Advisory, I feel like it really merges into this health insurance, kind of giving me a broader view of not only the clinical piece, but now the behind the scenes insurance piece, and hoping to just bring a wide range into Centennial Wealth. And I think it's just really important as a retirement firm to be able to talk about your financial plans, your tax plans. Big piece of retirement is your health insurance and your health plans.
Sure.
So I'm excited to be able to offer this to our clients here.
Great.
Yeah. Thanks, Dawn. Thanks for sharing that. Now, I want you to stay tuned, because in the next segment, I'm going to be talking to you about how much risk can you take on. So stay tuned.
Today's retirement challenges can be mastered. Knowledge is power, because you can confidently plan ahead and make educated financial decisions for a successful and comfortable retirement. We are Centennial Wealth Advisory, financial advisors, specializing in retirement planning, serving all of northern Michigan with offices in Traverse City, Cadillac, Petoskey, and Gaylord. And we invite you to an informative and exciting live event with a complimentary gourmet dinner. You'll learn highlights of the new Tax Reform Act, the difference between the fiduciary and suitability standard of care, how an IRA gets taxed to a surviving spouse, how two similar portfolios can end up with two drastically different results, what a bull market is and how long it can last, and much more. Call 888-608-5825 to register and choose the date and location that works best for you. Tuesday, August 6th at the Evergreen Resort in Cadillac. Thursday, August 8th at Big Buck Brewery in Gaylord. Or Tuesday, August 13th at Stafford's Bayview Inn in Petoskey. The live event starts at 6 p.m. and is free to attend with a complimentary gourmet dinner to follow, but seating is limited and fills quickly. Call 888-608-5825 to reserve your seats today. There is no cost and no obligation. Don't miss this important live event. Educated Financial Decisions. Call 888-608-5825 today.
Welcome back. Now in this segment, what we want to talk about is how much risk should you take in your investment portfolio, or what we call how much risk can you take on. Now we usually illustrate this using what we call the CAN approach. The first one being C is what is your capacity to take risk on. Now a lot of advisors out there, they have different methods by which they determine how much risk you should take. Some have what they call a risk profile questionnaire. It might be 10, 11 questions that they ask, and then based on how you answer those questions and then they score you, they deem the appropriate risk profile that you should have. Really what they're looking for is they're trying to see what is your ability to take on risk. Some will use what they call maybe the rule of 100. The rule of 100 just simply says take 100 minus your age, and that equals how much risk you should be in. The idea being that the older you get, the safer you should be, right? So if I'm 60 years old, I should maybe only have 40% of my portfolio at risk. Now, the problem with this approach is that most advisors, that's where they stop. You got to understand they're meeting what's called a suitability standard. They just want to make sure that whatever they sell you or recommend to you is appropriate based on some standard that they deem covers them. Okay, this is where they stop. Where the next place a fiduciary advisor might want to go, though, is what is your attitude about risk? Okay, what are your personal feelings? Now, let's just say that the advisor, based on the risk profile questionnaire or some other method, determined that you should have your portfolio be 35% at risk. Okay, but what if you say, wait a second, based on how I handle my finances, I would never want to see more than maybe a 15% risk, right? Wouldn't you say there'd be a disconnect then between what they said and you said, right? Now, Mike talked about this in the first segment. How can you have, the advisor have an understanding of what they think based on your capacity to take risk, but your personal feelings be completely different? So this has to be primarily the most important, because I or any other advisor may deem that you maybe have a higher risk profile based on your net worth, maybe your income, maybe other factors. But if your personal feelings say, listen, that may all be true, but that's not what I want, then we're going to have to be cognizant of that, especially if we're a fiduciary advisor. Now, another place you might want to go is, what is your need to take on risk? All right? Let's say we've done an income plan. Now, in an income plan, we have to have a growth rate assumption, and basically an amount by which we have to assume that your assets are going to grow while you're taking income. So let's say we do that income plan, and we can, based on how much income you want in retirement, alongside other guaranteed income, let's just say that we put a growth rate assumption in there of, let's say, 3%. And with a 3% growth rate in that income plan, we deem that your assets, your money, will basically live longer than you, which is what you want most of your assets to do, right? You don't want them drawn down or being gone before you go, right? But let's just say we put that growth rate assumption in there of 3%, and your income plan is fine. Well then, I better be asking the question, why would I be going after any more income than what is necessary or what I need? Think of that old baseball analogy, okay? If I only need to hit base hits, why am I swinging for the fences? Why am I trying to hit home runs with the possibility of striking out, and all I have to do is have a base hit? No different than it is with your income plan. So we're going to look at all of these, right? Your capacity to take on risk, very important. Your attitude, probably the most important, because those are your personal feelings. And then let's look at our need to take on risk. If we don't need to take more risk on than necessary, then maybe that'll have a weighing in our ultimate decision. Bottom line is answering this question about risk is so vitally important in how you set up your investment portfolio in general. So being able to ascertain this in a very reasonable way that matches your personal feelings is so vitally important.
All right, Larry, great job walking us through that and understanding of not just capacity, but that attitude and need as far as taking on risk. That's what I always run through when walking through with clients. A lot of times they may have saved enough for retirement and they don't necessarily need to be taking on as significant amount of risk in those retirement years, I think is so important.
Yeah. The other thing, John, is that you want to draw attention to our audience is how much risk they want to take on can be different at different points in time.
Yes.
They may have told the advisor when they first started with them that this is all I wanted here, but maybe they're 5 years older.
Yeah.
And they want to take on less risk. It's a good time to ask again, right? So Dawn, in the first segment we were talking about, what you do for Centennial Wealth. What's that? Tell the audience, what's that person look like that should maybe be talking to you?
Yeah, honestly, pretty much any person. Because if you're under 65, you need health insurance. We offer traditional health insurance through the marketplace, through traditional services. If you're that person who's approaching 65, your mailbox is probably getting inundated with flyers from everything Medicare. Call us. We can simplify it and just streamline everything and start talking about the Medicare supplements and the Medicare process.
Right.
And then for that person who's maybe already on a Medicare supplement, they've been on it for 3-4 years possibly. Will premium rates continue to rise and rise and rise? Call us. We can do a quick quote. And in a matter of less than 5 minutes, there's a possibility we could save you a lot of money.
Right.
So really anybody is at an advantage to give us a
And
call.
it didn't cost them anything to get a quote, right?
Right,
So
yeah.
why wouldn't they not do
Why
that
would you
if they
not?
could possibly save money?
Exactly.
All right. Well, folks, I want you to stay tuned because in the next segment, Art and I are going to be talking about why buy and hold might not work any longer. So stay tuned.
Hi, my name is Jack Klunder and I'm a financial advisor with Centennial Wealth Advisory. We are now opening an office in the Cadillac area and surrounding cities. So if you have any retirement goals or questions that you'd like to go over, we have a no obligation free consultation. Please feel free to reach out to us and we'd love to meet with you.
We look forward to helping you plan to retire well.
Hi there, my name is Nick Greenman. I'm one of the financial advisors here at Centennial Wealth Advisory. Brand new to the Gaylord office. I'm here full-time now and also be commuting back to the Petoskey office as well. I'd love to hear your story and learn if I could help you manage your retirement needs.
Welcome back to Retiring Well. I'm Art Canfield here with Larry Flynn, and we've been talking about why buy and hold does not work in today's markets. Larry, I know we deal with this, it seems like on a daily basis where somebody's had some portfolio, some stock, some mutual fund that they've held for years in many cases, and they've just been told over and over, just keep that one and life will be good, right?
Yep. Well, Art, obviously, if markets are going to continue to cooperate and always go up, buy and hold's going to work every time, right? Mm-hmm. And if you look at the markets over a long period of time, for the most part, it's always trending upward. So this is primarily where the concept comes from. But here's the thing, 2008, it took 15 months for the market to drop to half its value. Now, every month in that time, a client's getting their statement, right? Down, down. And they're calling their advisor, Joe advisor, Jane advisor, and you say, hey, listen, market's, down again. What do you think I should do? And what was the mantra?
Stay at it. Keep the course, right?
Stay the course, right? The line will straighten itself out. Well, again, it took 15 months for it to drop to half its value, but it took 5 years after that to come back to where it was at. I would agree, wouldn't you not agree, that that's kind of unacceptable?
It's a lot of time, value of money lost, isn't it, for 5 years?
Yep.
And there.
Yep, there was plenty of evidence that there was some we were entering into a recession, that some adjustments needed to be made. Even if they could have, maybe gone half the way down and made the adjustment in half that time, they would have recovered a lot quicker.
I think most people understand they're never going to time it perfect, right, because it's a pick. But too, I think it's interesting to look at the fact of maybe where buy and hold is different for a younger person than somebody like entering retirement and looking to pull income, right?
Oh man, it's critical. Yeah, if you're a younger taxpayer or younger investor and you've got a lot of time on your hands, obviously, you can weather the storm because you don't need that money for income yet, right? So that person would be much more able to do what's called a buy and hold. But somebody close to retirement or in retirement, and they're now relying on this portfolio for income, and it now drops to half its value, devastating. We've always used this, what they call the 4 or 5% rule, right? This, what they called a safe withdrawal rate, an amount by which you should be able to pull from that portfolio and modestly maintain principal and maybe grow it a little bit over time, right? Well, what if I'm taking that 5% and now the account drops to half its value? If I still needed that 5% as income, now what am I taking out? 10%. How do I get that back? It's going to take a much longer period of time than 5 years to get that back.
Right. And thing that kind of plays into this, I know you and I have talked about this before, but kind of this theory of like the new normal. Back was it like the 80s and 90s where you could throw a dart at any investment and probably double your money every few years, right? But what have we had today? We've had a lot of this volatility, both some very good times, but unfortunately some bad times as well. And probably all the more with kind of this buy and hold, right?
Well, if you even go back to 2000, where you'd have a 50% portfolio, 50% stocks, 50% bonds. Well, the bonds were paying 6-7%. So, that worked. Today, what are they paying? We're getting 1-2%. So now you have this side making 1-2%, and then you got this side dropping to half its value. How do you make that work?
Right. Yeah, the balanced portfolio is no longer kind of what it used to be, right?
That's right.
Wow.
That's right.
So, for other people out there, what can you do, right? We're here saying today that doesn't work. Fixed income isn't paying what it used to. Volatility in the market is probably always going to be there for all practical purposes. Some years more than others. But I guess for our listeners out there today, what can they do?
What they want to make sure they do not do, first of all, is find themselves caught in what you call passive investments. Investments that may have management with the underlying securities they're holding, but are just passively invested holding those assets. Because you got to understand, there might be management of the buying and selling. Let's say you have a stock fund, right? There's buying and selling going on in the stocks, but who's sitting back saying, hey, we're entering a market recession, maybe we should be getting out, right? What you want is active management. Somebody at the helm saying, hey, we're entering danger zone here, let's make a change.
Gotcha. Seems to make sense to me. Well, if that's you out there and you're maybe nearing or in retirement, give us a call. We'd love to talk to you and help you set up a plan that would be successful for your retirement years to come.
Today's retirement challenges can be mastered. Knowledge is power because you can confidently plan ahead and make educated financial decisions for a successful and comfortable retirement. We are Centennial Wealth Advisory, financial advisors specializing in retirement planning, serving all of northern Michigan with offices in Traverse City, Cadillac, Petoskey, and Gaylord. and we invite you to an informative and exciting live event with a complimentary gourmet dinner. You'll learn highlights of the new Tax Reform Act, the difference between the fiduciary and suitability standard of care, how an IRA gets taxed to a surviving spouse, how two similar portfolios can end up with two drastically different results, what a bull market is and how long it can last, and much more. Call 888-608-5825 to register and choose the date and location that works best for you. Tuesday, August 6th at the Evergreen Resort in Cadillac. Thursday, August 8th at Big Buck Brewery in Gaylord, or Tuesday, August 13th at Stafford's Bayview Inn in Petoskey. The live event starts at 6 p.m. and is free to attend with a complimentary gourmet dinner to follow, but seating is limited and fills quickly. Call 888-608-5825 to reserve your seats today. There is no cost and no obligation. Don't miss this important live event. Educated financial decisions. Call 888-608-5825 today.
Great job, Larry, for you and Art on that one, talking about ultimately taking on that risk in the buy and hold strategy and how maybe over a 10-year bull run like we're experiencing, and if we start to see things turn, may not be the best option, especially when you want to take income from your portfolio.
Yeah, I've never been able to ascertain why somebody would want to lose almost more than half the value of their account only to wait 5-6 years for it to come back. That, to me, that's unacceptable. If there's any reason for me to believe that we're entering economic slowdown or recession and we need to, fall back, I want to do that, right?
Right.
So, Don, one of the most common questions we get in our office at times is, do I or do I not need long-term care insurance, right? So I want to talk a little bit about that because that's something else you do, right?
Yeah, that's something else we do. And honestly, they say more than 50% of people will spend time in a long-term care facility. So it's a very real thing to talk about. So yeah, it's just one of those other approaches that we bring to Centennial Wealth Advisor. We can talk about traditional long-term care insurance, hybrid long-term care insurance. The hybrid is just a long-term care with a death benefit. So there's some advantages to that, and that's something we should sit down and talk about.
Meaning if they don't use the death benefit from the life insurance, they can actually use it for long-term care as well?
Exactly, yeah, so it's kind of a balance of the two. So there's a lot of options out there, a lot of good products, and it's nice that we're an independent firm that we can offer pretty much anything.
That's what I enjoy, is just the fact that we're independent. We're able to shop around and look for whatever's best for you and what you're trying to accomplish. And the advantage with the life insurance and some of those options is it's tax-free as well. So again, we encourage you to give us a call for no cost, no obligation, second opinion. We'd love to sit down with you and just chat about your investments, insurance, taxes, all those different areas. We'd love that opportunity. So thanks again for tuning in to Retiring Well.